On the 10th of February 1940, we were arrested by the Russian military and transported to Siberia. The winter was very cold. At dawn there was a knock on the door, and Mother opened. 2 Russian soldiers, armed with rifles, entered along with 2 civilians. We were told to pack away some clothes and some food, and they took us away on sledges to a nearby village school. Once there, we found that, like us, other people had been taken from surrounding farms. From there again we were put on sledges, and after a few stops to rest the horses, we arrived in a town called Pinsk. At the railway station, they packed us in cattle wagons, about 30 in each. We were locked in. Each one had an armed soldier guarding us. Everyone was in shock, but we had to organise things. It was very cold, and some men made a fire in an oven and cut a hole in the floor, put some blankets around it, and that was our toilet. We travelled like this for about 2 weeks, and we were not given any food or water. Whenever the train stopped, we gathered snow, melting it for water. During this journey, people were dying of hunger. The dead were just thrown off the wagons as the train moved along. After 2 weeks' travel, we arrived at Archangel, where we shared food. They put us in a hall where we sat on blankets on the floor. There were thousands of people there. One evening, we were put onto an open truck and driven 25 kilometres. That was our place. They put 4 families in one room, about 20 to 30 people. The next day they registered us, and we were not allowed any religious pictures or sing hymns. People were given some work in a brick factory or delivering wood. There was one shop where we could buy bread and nothing else. Most babies and children were dying of starvation. Every day you could hear mothers crying across the room for their dead children. It was very cold, and we didn't have clothes for this type of weather. After a while, Mother found a little room where we could live on our own. Because of the shortage of food, Lodja and Vacek were taken into an orphanage, where they had better food. Vacek soon made some friends and was content. But poor Lodja was bullied. She was the youngest and begged Mum to take her back and said, "Mum, I'm not going to eat much," in the hope to be taken back. After a while, Mum took them back as they were moving orphanage. All of us were always hungry, and Mum had night blindness because of the lack of vitamins. When war broke out between Germany and Russia, they gave us some freedom. We had no idea what was happening in Poland and Europe because there was no radio, no newspapers. This freedom was gained after a Polish general negotiated the release of thousands of refugees from Stalin. After thinking things over, some of us decided to leave. We bought tickets to Bazulak, again on wagons, because we could not afford anything better. On our long journey, we were again short of food. When we arrived in Bazulak, the Polish embassy was closed, but the Czech embassy was still open. They gave us some bread, and what luck it was that they hooked our 2 wagons to a Polish army train. The train took us to Krasnovodsk in the Caspian Sea. There we were put on a ship to Persia. Arriving in Persia, there was an epidemic of typhoid. So there they moved us to Tehran. My brother Kajik was very ill, but somehow pulled through. We were living in large tents for a while. Then they moved us by train to Pakistan. We were in Karachi for a few months. Then we were put on a ship, and by the Indian Ocean we arrived in Dar es Salaam. Lodja was very ill and taken to hospital. Angela also became ill with malaria. From there we were put in camps in Kitagala in Tanganyika. Kajik joined the Polish army. Mum worked in a bakery. There were termites, ants and mosquitoes. The camp was surrounded by jungle and it wasn't safe for us to go out of the compound. At this time we were eating a better diet, but many children died because their bodies rejected the nutritious food. However, my mother's choice in sending 2 of her children to an orphanage in Russia paid off, because they had had a good diet there, and so their bodies did not reject the food as others did. 2 other camps, Ifunda, then Tengura. From there we could see Mount Kilimanjaro. We couldn't go back to our home in Poland because it had been given over to Russia. We were allowed to come to England,